So everybody, thank you for coming to today's Tidbit. And Tidbit is entitled An Inside Look at Mercer County Community College Radio Station, Jazz on 2. And I have two awesome guests today. I have station manager Carey Hamilton, who everybody knows from listening to great music all day at the JKC campus, and Professor Alvyn Haywood, who everybody knows because he's Professor Alvyn Haywood. So thank you so much for coming to our fun podcast style tidbit today. How you guys doing?
We're fine.
Good.
Thank you. Well, I'm fine.
Thank you for having us. Okay. Just checking.
The radio station is super cool, and I think that, I think I see you every day. And besides complaining about the Giants and Giants football, we do play some. We can never have anything nice as Giants fans. You do play amazing music. So I said, what a great idea, Jill and I were talking about it, to have you both as guests and do a tidbit. And since the last tidbit worked out really well with Eric Grudman, our athletic director, in this format, this is really cool. So thank you guys for humoring me to do this.
Well, thank you for having me.
It's an honor.
All right, let's get into it. Let's have fun. So I didn't know, we were doing a little pre-tidbit conversation on Monday. I didn't know your background, Carey, and how you became the manager of the radio station here. So let's start with that. Have you always been a DJ, or how did you get into music, and how'd that all work out? Now I can't hear you.
You can't hear me?
Now I can. Yeah, now
Okay.
I can.
That's funny. You mentioned, was I always a DJ? I became a DJ when I got to JKC. From a DJ standpoint, my background in radio began about 20 years ago. I was a volunteer for another jazz station, WBGO in Newark. And I was working on the administrative side. So I handled accounts payables, receivables, and I pretty much was in contact with everyone from the CEO of the Board of Trustees through the janitor of the radio station. 2015, I got hit by a car coming home from Newark to Trenton, and it pretty much ended my career with WBGO. And a part of my recovery was I met my predecessor, Winifred Howard, and I said to her, I would like to volunteer. I thought all jazz stations did the same type of volunteering. And when she set me down, she said, no, with Jazz on 2, our volunteers create their own radio shows. So that's where I got started. I created my own radio show, which is called Keeping Jazz Alive. And I also produced another show called All in the Details. I did that for about 2-3 years, and Winifred would tease me and say to me, Carey, when I retire, you're going to replace me. And, I thought she was joking, but God has a sense of humor. 2 years after that, I was offered the jazz coordinator's position. And the reason why Winifred thought that I should have that position was because I had a very large jazz collection, R&B collection, and blues collection, and the jazz station didn't have it. So that would be a niche that I would be able to fill.
Oh, cool.
So that's a nutshell of how I got involved with Jazz on 2.
And Professor Hayward, were you just like, I want to have a jazz show? Or were you, did Carey convince you? Like 3 years ago, Carey had me, let me just tell you, Carey had me fill out an application like 3 years ago. This is like standard Mercer hiring procedure right now, where I'm still waiting.
No,
I stand accused.
In response to your question, I had a jazz show many moons ago, and then we dropped off the airing of it, and I spoke with Carey and said, I'm open to work with you in any way possible and to support you. And one way of supporting you might be to have a radio show called The New Cool Jazz School. And I think that's the whole journey in a nutshell, or the nut in a shell, whatever, you know what I mean. Yeah.
And you've been at Mercer for a long time.
since Jesus left. Okay, I've seen him come and go. You know what I mean? More go than come. But anyway, yes.
Boy, that's absolutely hilarious. So you've been here forever and you're in the communications department. So there's a link between what you do and what you teach, being a DJ.
Well, I wouldn't call myself necessarily a DJ on the show. I would say that my partner and I, my producer and myself, we get engaged in conversation and dialogue with various people throughout the area and throughout the college. And we do our best to keep it as light as possible. But there are some areas that when we address certain subject matter, it gets a little heavy. But it's always I think something where people can benefit from the conversation, some of the things that are passed out. So that's why I say I don't consider myself to be a DJ. I'm generally more of a detective.
Detective slash show host.
Yes.
Is a
Yeah.
good way to say it. What's the history of radio station at Mercer County Community College? Has it always been a jazz station? I know we talked about it being classical at one point. What's the history of the station?
The history of the station, I believe now it's about 38 years that the WWFM has been a classical station. It began as a jazz station, and there were some complications as far as attracting an audience. I think in the beginning when they were trying to do jazz, they were trying to do jazz, they were trying to do classical, they were trying to do classic R&B, and the mixture just didn't mesh. And they saw that there was a market for classical. So classical has been the main station. So 89.1 HD, no, 89.1 on your terrestrial radio would be classical. Jazz came about in 2008 because WWFM purchased an antenna, and on that antenna, there were 3 slots for HD radio. So slot number 1 went to classical, slot number 2 was earmarked for jazz, and slot number 3 was earmarked for the college station. Hence, Jazz on 2. Since 2008 through, I guess, when I got started in 2022, the station had been housed here, but there was no real relationship here. We just played music. We had some hosts that came in and they recorded their shows and programming came on. When I was hired, one of the things that I was charged with by my predecessor was to let people know that we existed. Hence the reason why I play music on Tuesdays from 9 to 1 on the second floor, mostly jazz and classic R&B. And on Wednesdays from 9 to 1, I play basically classic R&B music.
So if you went on the terrestrial side, you hear classical. And if you stream Jazz on 2,
yes,
you would hear R&B music. And is it it's 24 hours a day?
Yes, Jazz on 2 is 24 hours a day, 365 days out of the year. You can stream us at www.jazzon2.org. And we're also on several different mobile radio apps.
What do you think? Trenton has a really rich music history. And I don't think that people realize it. And when I started digging into it a little bit, I'm a hack guitar player, so meaning I'm really not that good. I'm average. But when I started talking to there's great jazz and blues players that come out of Trenton. Have you guys been talking to some of those individuals, some of those artists, and getting them on your shows?
Yes, as a matter of fact, that's what I've determined to be my mission, to find these various jazz musicians who are either from Trenton or who have played Trenton and interview them. Yeah.
Also, we have working relationship with E.C. Bradley, who was the former owner of the Candlelight and is now the promoter for Escape, which is at the same location as the former Candlelight, 24 Passaic Avenue. And through EC, he has introduced us to different artists. We had a relationship last year where during his transition with the closing of the Candlelight, he had live bands play in Trenton Hall. And we got the opportunity to interview some of those artists. And we have some relationships with them now.
We were talking about, before we came on air, we were talking about the Jazz Fest in February. And some of the people playing there last year, I already forgot the guy's name. What was the person's name who we were talking about earlier?
Roy Richardson Jr. He plays smooth jazz.
He is extremely smooth. And the music is outstanding. Are you going to be doing some of those events again? And what are some of the other events that we're doing here at JKC? Because there's something going on every Thursday night at one point. So there's so many things happening with jazz music. What are some things that are happening on the JKC campus?
So to answer your first question, yes, in February 20th, save the date, we will be having our third annual Keeping Jazz Alive event, which will feature a total of 4 different artists that will be performing, of which Roy Richardson Jr. will be one of the 4 artists. Your point that you were talking about on Thursdays, which just concluded last night, is the Mercer County Jazz Band led by Scott Hornick, who has a it's actually a makeshift jam session that was taking place Thursday evenings from 6:30 to 9 o'clock. And you had not only the jazz band, but you had other artists that would come in and sit in, and they would just make music together.
Yeah, if I may, I want to plug my partner, Professor Scott Hornick. The brother is a bass player and vanilla fudge. That's what I'm gonna call him, vanilla fudge. You know, nice. He knows how to work it. You know, and what I find most beautiful about Professor Hornick is that he inspires his students. I mean, you can literally, if you come down, he even looks like a student, if you will, you know, because he humbles himself, he checks his ego at the door and really kicks butt, you know. So if our listeners or viewers can, they should make it an effort to check him out and the students.
And one more plug that's interesting to everybody here. Scott Hornick is not only a professor here, but he's a former Mercer County student.
Amen.
And his goal was to come here to Trenton and begin to harness the different musicians that are in high school that are interested in the music but don't have an outlet for it. So that's one of the reasons why he's here on those Thursday nights. And he also did a summer program called the Jazz Institute that he will be repeating again this upcoming summer.
I believe he's on a mission from God because for real, because he could have been on the road. I mean, the brother's chops are that significant.
Right.
And for him to want to hone students who appreciate jazz, you know, I think it's a gift, man. And I hope that the college, in all of its glory, can hold on to the brother, because we've had some very talented people here, you know. So I thought I'd just say that.
I have no problem with that.
Thank you.
Okay.
Mercer does have, that's what's great about these tidbits. Mercer does have tremendously talented and interesting people that work here in such different capacities that you would never know. What are the so there's a lot of obviously I'm seeing that there's a lot of relationships here with the radio station, obviously you two, Professor Hornig, the students. I recall at the last event, you had students actually playing at the last event. Am I right by saying that?
Yes.
So this is a great
As a
outlet.
matter of fact, Roy Richardson Jr. was taking classes here under Scott Hornick.
Yes.
So he's a member of the Mercer County Jazz Band as well as a solo, well, not a solo performer, but a solo artist with his own band.
So all of this impacts the campus and all this impacts the students in a positive way. What do you think are some ways that some of these positive things that happen? What do you think of how music, like I love coming in and you might be playing, I'll throw Lakeside out there because I always throw Lakeside out there. You might be playing some, like we were talking about, we were making raps in the kitchen this morning, me and Cedric, and we were listening to the Bee Gees and a Saturday Night Fever soundtrack, but you could be playing anything when I walk in. And I think it makes such a big difference to the campus. What do you feel music does? What difference does music make in your life and to campus life?
It's music soothes the savage beast. And therefore, for those of our inhabitants or those who come to the college who may be in a foul mood, music has a way of lifting them up. You'll notice that so many of our students walk with those ear pods and they're listening to, different jams, and I think that when they hear classical jazz or rhythm and blues, they can't help but bob their head and put on a smile and go to where they need to go. To pump in music, I think, is a significant scientific tool that helps us in each phase that we represent here at the college.
And if I may, I have two experiences that I can relate to in regards to the music. One happened with one of the freshman students coming in. I played the song by Etta James. And what's funny about the song that I played by Etta James, it wasn't At Last, which is the song that she's most credited for.
I was just going to ask you that.
And when I played the song, the young lady just said, "Oh, Etta." And I was shocked by her response because I felt her feeling of it, but I would have thought, and this is me being, I don't know, I guess prejudiced in a way by age. I would have thought she would have been more relating to Beyonce doing Etta James than Etta James, the original artist.
Sure.
The other thing was downstairs in the cafeteria, and we've had the opportunity to interview the president on the new cool jazz school. And one of the things we said to Dr. Preston was, we want you to leave Dr. Preston outside of the door. We want to get to know Debbie. And right. I say that because when I was playing some music downstairs, and it was some music from the 60s, she came in and she snapped her fingers and she said, "This is music that my parents used to listen to." And it brought me in touch with the fact that even though there's different age levels in the college, whether it's the president or a freshman student, each group or each age group can relate to the music that's being played.
It's funny you brought that up because I was speaking with my wife and we were talking about AM Gold. Remember AM Gold from the 70s? And we were like, and my son was like, "Oh, you mean yacht rock?" Yes, yacht rock, right? But that made me think about the relationship that some of these songs are starting to come, full circle, and either they're being remade or all of a sudden yacht rock is cool and AM Gold. I didn't think AM Gold was cool when my mother had it on in the kitchen when we were eating breakfast. I didn't think it was cool, you know what I mean? But at that time, 5, 6, 7 years old, that was what was hot. You know what I mean? That's what was going on. And then we got into the disco age. But my son was like, "Oh yeah, you mean yacht rock?" So I could see a student who is a Mercer freshman coming in and yeah, Beyonce redid the song, but knowing the history of the song, I think is pretty cool. And knowing that it was Eddie, and knowing that it was Etta James that did that originally did the song. All right, here's a good one. I'm going to start with you, Professor. Who's your favorite artist or favorite jazz or R&B artist, or in any genre of music, really?
Brother, you shouldn't ask me that. It's like a parent who said, give me your favorite five. You know what I mean?
Give me your top three.
My top three. I would say, as a former bass player, I would say Jaco Pastorius.
Heck yeah.
And one who's way out there, but you would not attribute him, or you wouldn't attribute this particular attribute, musical attribute to him. But James Marshall Hendricks, I think, was really one of the premier blues, jazz, crossover artists on acid, if you will. And
Sure.
thirdly, I would say that my favorite jazz singer who moved into pop or became recognized as pop, as a pop artist, was Gino Vanelli.
Okay.
His album Storm at Sunup really captured my attention, and succeeding albums after that. But though, if you were going to press me about three, you shouldn't do it. But those would be my three.
It's tough, right? Because
It is.
I'll say
Yeah.
It really is.
it's really hard because then somebody comes on and you're like, oh man, I really love, and then the next song comes on and you're like, I love this
Yeah,
guy too. You know
that's
what I
right.
mean? So
That-
it's hard to round
That's
it
why we
down.
say there's
So,
much love. Go ahead.
so it's funny you mentioned something like that. Number one, because as I mentioned, I have a large music collection. I grew up in the 70s. So my youngest son, who's 34 years old, said to me, he said, Dad, I really dislike your era. And I'm like, why? He said, because that's when all of the music came together. And I say that because you can't just pick one artist from that particular era. But if I had to name three artists, I think I would choose three different genres of music. In
Yeah.
blues, it would have to be Ray Charles. And
Mhm.
I say that because Ray Charles did country, he did pop, but his basis was blues. When it comes to R&B, I'm old school. I'm a Sam Cooke fan.
Right.
Nice.
In jazz, I I I went to go see Dizzy Gillespie in 1979, and he told the story of his heartbeat. And I didn't understand what he meant, but I did know of the song "The Night in Tunisia," and I found out that the artist that he was talking about was Charlie Parker. And I've come to understand the level of their relationship in music because they helped to create the foundation in the 40s of what the music would turn out to be 30 years later in the 70s.
70s.
So Charlie Parker would be my third artist.
Do you think that we were talking about this when we were doing our pre-talk on Monday? Can jazz music stay alive?
It never died.
I
I didn't think it died, but can it stay alive? Can it stay alive? One of the questions I wrote down was, can
You go
jazz
first.
stay alive? And then I wrote, can jazz stay alive in Trenton?
If I may, I want to accept the challenge of telling you or responding to your question. As has been said by my producer, jazz never died. What it is
Right.
that, the market moves on that which they consider to be marketable. That is, that they can make some money, right?
Heck yeah.
And as you well know, many jazz artists aren't out for money. They're out for the art.
We were
So,
talking about that.
yes, we were. And therefore, just to elongate our previous conversation, jazz in Trenton has played a very unique role in developing other musicians, if you will, who move into other art forms. And we're doing our best here at James Carey to make sure that we not only talk to some of the jazz brothers and sisters, but to have or create an atmosphere where they can do their art. And as has been said, E.C. Bradley has been instrumental in allowing us to look through his Rolodex, if you will, and find some people we can bring here to either Mercer or to what's it called, the Escape Lounge?
Escape Lounge.
Escape Lounge. So I just want you to understand, and those who have braved the inclement weather to know, I want you all to know that the jazz is here to stay. And in fact, it's so here to stay that it's moved internationally. And so practically anywhere you want to go on the planet, you're going to hear jazz in some shape, form, or fashion.
To piggyback off that, we were just talking about the music of the 60s and the 70s. Motown, the foundation for soul music, or one of the foundations, was based off of jazz licks. The band that created all of that wonderful music was jazz bands, and that music continues to evolve. While jazz has never brought in the type of funds that pop music, rock music, metal has brought in, jazz has always had longevity. And to prove that point, back in 1957, Miles Davis, John Coltrane, Cannonball Adderley, and Bill Evans sat down and dropped an album called Kinda Blue. And from then to this day, it's still selling over 100,000 copies. Now, it's not making a lot of money, but we're talking about an album that's 49 years old. And it sounds just as crisp as the day they recorded it.
What's interesting, well, Vicente just put into the chat, he said there are many jazz influencers that are bringing jazz to the forefront. Social media has helped with that. Artists like Nubia Garcia is another one, and Esperanza Spalding. We cannot discount the power of social media, new media, right? Communications professor now is going to hopefully agree with me, and the influencer, the power of that, and the influencers on there that Vicente just pointed out as well, bringing jazz back to the forefront.
You know, the jazz it has been said of jazz that it's the only original American art form culturally.
America's classical music.
Amen. America's Thank you, Lord Jesus. Anyway, so that being said, you know, we can almost say, is America dead? Because if jazz is dead, America dies.
Sure.
And that ain't happening.
And I just asked, so I have a great album. I have a couple of albums by Kamasi Washington.
Mm-hmm.
That's legit.
Yes.
Absolutely. And he's a young guy. He's a young guy. And so I just asked ChatGPT while we were talking, name 5 modern jazz musicians. And it's funny because he came up as being number 1.
Wow.
And I thought that was really cool. And number two was Esperanza Spalding, which is funny because that's who Vicente just brought up. Mm-hmm. So obviously jazz is still alive, and obviously you're doing all you can here at Trenton to keep it alive in Trenton. So what's next steps? What are things that you guys are doing, next steps, and how can everyone find you and interact with the jazz station here?
I'm gonna turn that over to my producer.
So Aside from the Keeping Jazz Alive event that we're going to have, Scott will definitely be back next fall. We've been approached by two local bands that are looking to do something in the area with us, as well as Dr. Perez has friend from Cuba who's dying to do something here in Trenton.
Excellent.
And also, we're looking to begin to do more programming centered around Latin jazz, which is right now very much understated with the rising Hispanic population here in Trenton. Those are the steps that are on the table right now. We've had conversations with the county commissioner. He's interested in putting together some sort of a jazz festival in Mercer County Park. So that's something
Nice.
that's in our future that we're looking to do. Contact information. I'll let you go first.
Oh, Lord.
And what is your show?
He's doing that because he knows I like to fumble and stumble. But the new Cool Jazz School, you can listen to us on Jazz on 2, located at WWFM 89.1 HD2, streaming at www.jazzon2.org. And you can listen to us on your favorite smart device.
There you go. On your vision. I want to open this up.
And
I want to open this up for you guys for some questions too, because we run over. I could talk to both of you guys for 7 hours. So my producer just sent me a text that's like, "Why don't you open this up for questioning?" So I too have a producer as well, too. So guys, let's open this up. If anyone has any questions for Alvyn and Carey, turn on your microphone or send them to the chat real quick. Whatever works for you. I'm happy to read them, or I am happy to have you guys ask some questions. Don't let me down, people.
They probably said, we don't want to talk to that crazy chocolate man. You know what I mean? It's all good.
This was great. Guys, thank you for coming on the podcast.
Let me just say, I also host a show. My show is called Keeping Jazz Alive. It's on every Tuesday from 4 to 5 on WWFM 89.1 HD2 and streaming at www.jazzon2.org.
Is this where I drop your nickname as a Bebop Grandpa?
Yes.
Thank you so much, guys, for everything. There's a couple of things here in the chat that I want to bring up. Dylan texted the Mercer County Community College Student Jazz Band concert will be at Kelsey Theater on Wednesday, 12/10 from 7:30 to 9. So please go out and check them out. And Jill also posted all the tidbits for the fall semester are posted on MLink. This will be posted on MLink too in a couple of weeks. And we hope everybody will go back and listen and tell their friends to listen as well. Thank you both for coming on and entertaining us with great stories and being on our podcast.
Thank you very much. Take care.
All right, guys. Thank you all very much. And everybody got great message. You guys are very famous in here. There's great things over here. Great historical information. Thank you. You guys are amazing. So thank you again for being on the show. And everybody check us out, the CGC Professional Development Committee, as we bring you more tidbits. This is the last one of the year, but we bring you more tidbits for next year. Thank you guys again.